Hate ads? Me too. Patreon supporters can get ad-free early access to every episode, producer credit in the show notes, bonus content, and a 5 random questions sticker. Join now at patreon.com/5RQ. Link in the show notes. And now, time to get random.
You know, we can walk in a room and forget why we walked in there, but a song comes on and we know every single word to a song that we haven't heard in, 30 years. It's crazy.
Hi, and welcome to 5 Random Questions, the show with unexpected questions and unfiltered answers. I'm your host, Danny Brown, and each week I'll be asking my guests 5 questions created by a random question generator. The guest has no idea what the questions are, and neither do I, which means this could go either way. So sit back, relax, and let's dive into this week's episode. Today's guest is Jenn Trepeck. Jenn has been described as a force of nature in the wellness space, with recognition in Podcast Magazine's 40 Under 40, International Women's Podcast Awards, Earworthy's Independent Podcast Awards, and Women Who Podcast magazine. She is an optimal health coach, podcaster, and business coach. Her work grew out of Jenn's own weight management saga and learned the nutrition education we're all supposed to know, but no one ever taught us, which allowed her to say she kicked her food issues. After over a decade of working with clients, Jenn started a Salad with a Side of Fries podcast to pay it forward and help even more people help themselves. Based on science, yet lighthearted, Jenn uncomplicates wellness and supports people in living their happiest, healthiest lives. So Jenn, welcome to 5 Random Questions.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
I am excited to have you here. As I mentioned in the green room pre-recording, you came highly recommended by a joint, connection friend, Frank Rassiopi over at Earworthy. So super happy to have you here.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. He's the best.
And as I mentioned, your podcast is called Salad with a Side of Fries, which is the perfect name for the goal of the show. And I buy into it completely. In an episode of The Simpsons, and this isn't part of the random questions, I'm just curious about this.
Yeah.
In an episode of The Simpsons, there was a song that had the words, you don't win friends with salad. So, if you were looking to win someone over with salad, what one would you make?
That is a great question. I would have to ask them questions first to find out, right? Like some people, my sister, for example, does not like anything sweet in a salad. For other people, they're like, wait, that makes the difference. Now I totally enjoy this. Maybe to change it up, I would do, if I didn't have a chance to ask them questions, I would do a salad that's a mix of vegetables, 0 lettuce, add some cheese in there, some nuts, kind of change it up and give people a new experience of a salad. And I would add in there something warm. So it's a combination of cold and warm and no lettuce.
I like that. And the lettuce part's awesome because I enjoy, I guess it's called a tuna salad, but it's basically tuna and then there's a bunch of veggies mixed in with some corn, etc. Is corn a veg? I don't know. But there's no lettuce. So my daughter says, well, that's not a salad because there's no lettuce in it. And I keep saying, well, it doesn't. I don't think it has to have a lettuce to be salad.
Yeah, no.
Anywho, well, I will go with that. As I say, as someone that, goes with salads without lettuce, I'm all in for that. So good to know that the expert is too.
Awesome.
And speaking of all in, it's time to get all in on this week's 5 random questions. So Jenn, are you ready for the hot seat?
I'm as ready as we're going to be.
Alrighty, let's bring up the random question generator. Perfect question for a foodie like yourself. Jenn, question number 1. What is your favorite condiment?
Oh, this is so hard. Okay, as a kid, it was ketchup. My sister and I put ketchup on everything. Now, I think I'm going to go, well, the health coach in me is going to say my favorite condiment is grains. And people are going to be like, what? Grains are a condiment? Yes, that's putting them in proper proportion. But really, condiment-wise, I will go with tahini.
Okay, what is tahini?
So tahini is made out of sesame seeds. It's very common in Middle Eastern cuisine, but you can use it as a dipping sauce. You can use it, mix it with other things to make any other kind of sauce. But I find it delicious. And when I'm ordering food, because I don't always have groceries, I often am choosing tahini-based dressings. You can mix it with tuna. You can mix it with anything.
Yeah, and is there like is there a set flavor to it? Has it got any kick, or is it just like
no kick? I mean, you could add spice to it, or add it to sriracha and give it, new life. But it kind of, because it's made out of sesame seeds, it has, I guess, maybe more of an earthy flavor. But then, you could take the tahini and mix it with Greek yogurt and get like an even creamier kind of dressing. Or you could mix it with olive oil and vinegar and, thin it out and get, So it's versatile. You could add like honey or maple syrup and, put it to the sweeter side, or like you said, add something and make it spicy.
It's funny how our taste buds change over the years. My daughter, she's 13 now. And when she was about 8, 9, I'm going to say, she loved her spicy foods. And so if we'd go to like a restaurant or whatever, we'd have these little challenges, like a spicy food challenge, where who would eat the spiciest food? And then the loser has to pay up $20. And obviously she never lost. She always ate the spiciest sauces and that. And I would be the one that coughed first. But now, or in the last year, she kind of went off that. And she's kind of coming back on. Like recently, she's gone into a weird phase where she's adding chipotle to every single thing. So chipotle on a burger, chipotle on a salad, chipotle. I'm pretty sure she would have it on pancakes if we didn't have syrup in the cupboard. It's just weird how you adapt and change to that.
For sure. Taste buds continue to change.
Well, and that's it. I mean, I love, my mum used to love making, I'm from Scotland originally. So part of the natural food there, if you like, was a lot of meat, a lot of beef, etc. But you always mixed it up with a lot of spice. So lots of black pepper, ground and etc. Lots of salt and other kinds of spices. And I used to hate that because it was too peppery. And now I can't get enough of black pepper. I would, like my daughter with her chipotle, I just put black pepper on anything and everything that I can.
Yeah, I'm not a salt person, so I'm much more of a pepper person than a salt person. But I've gotten into, like, I always keep some truffle salt in my apartment because you could just steam veggies and put some truffle salt on it, and it's amazing.
And this is why I should never do episodes where food is one of the questions, because every time we finish recording, I want to go, truffle salt. Is that actually dessert truffle then? Or is that a different kind? Not different.
No, it's savory. It's like the mushroom truffles.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. But by the way, that's real. It's called food porn. Well, I call it food porn, but it's real. It's, our brains are wired to then want to go eat when we see food.
Yeah, 100%. I had an episode about 3-4 episodes back, I think, with Colin True from the Rock Fight podcast, and he was talking about what he would do if I ever visited him in SoCal. He'd make this pizza that he's well known for, seemingly, and he described how he'd make this pizza, etc. And I was savouring. I was struggling to go through the rest of the questions because I was just thinking,
right. All you could think about is pizza, yeah.
I don't know. Like I said, my daughter loves her food and definitely loves her chipotle. So I don't know what that would be like, if that's going to be her wedding day dressing on her table. That'd be kind of weird, having all the guests. You have to dip your cake into some chipotle or something.
I mean, why not?
Well, exactly. Why not indeed? Why not? Well, speaking of why not, let's have a look. A good one to open up the episode there. Let's have a look at question number 2. Okay, question 2, Jen. What kind of music do you like to listen to?
So, just like our taste buds change, right? I'm definitely, typical top 40, but, and back into my research brain. So really interesting. We all gravitate toward the music that we listen to in our teens and college years. So for me, it's a lot of a very wide range of everything from, Eminem, sort of East Coast, West Coast rap, like, Tupac and Wu-Tang and all of that, which is probably not what people would expect from, the little white girl from the suburbs of Detroit. And then, and then there's also, I grew up in the era of all the boy bands. So I still, Justin Timberlake, NSYNC, Backstreet Boys. There are just certain songs that you forget that and then they come on. Earlier today, Green Day came up in a conversation. We all started singing Green Day. So it really runs the gamut. But it's amazing how today, we can walk in a room and forget why we walked in there. But a song comes on and we know every single word to a song that we haven't heard in 30 years. It's crazy.
Well, it's my wife. Always described her when we first met. She was very much into emo, heavily into emo, and still is. And nothing wrong with emo. But she always called herself like an eclectic punk because she also loved Backstreet Boys. That's who she grew up with in high school. That was her soundtrack. Backstreet Boys, NSYNC, all the classic pop. So you see this person that dresses a certain way at the time. But then if Backstreet Boys comes on, she'll be singing along, sweetest little voice doing the harmonies, and I think, hold on a minute, aren't you like a screamo or something? So it's cool how you say that what we listen to is basically the soundtrack of our lives because it does follow us all the way through, right?
Yep.
Now, I'm trying to remember, are you married, Jen?
I'm not.
Okay, so I was going to say, I was just going to ask her, I wasn't being personal there.
No, that's right.
Came across. I'm
an open book. Yeah.
Well, I was just curious. So let's say you do get married, what would be, I guess, your wedding song? Or have you had two choices? So your wedding song from back when and your wedding song right now as you are now today.
I don't know. I may be the only female who has never planned out her wedding. To choose it now, I think it would have to be some song that meant something to me and this person, but I think back in the day, I don't know. What was the song? So a friend of mine, now I'm going to memories, a friend of mine in high school wanted to, I don't know if she wanted to walk down the aisle to this song or have it as her first dance. And now I can't even think of who sang it. But the lyrics are like, meet me at the altar in your white dress. Let's get married. Like, now this is going to drive me nuts that I can't think of who it was.
Yeah, I can't. I'm a slightly older generation. I can't think of it, but I bet my wife would know if she was here.
I know. I think your wife and I are the same. I might Google it I don't want to mess anything up in the technology, but.
But that would be the one, yeah?
Yeah. I mean, that's what I think of as far as like a wedding song from when, we were kids. But I have to give my friend Lindsay credit for that one.
Well, like I said, I'll drop in the show notes. I know when we got married, we'd played our wedding dance, I guess, the first dance, was the song I Do by Dashboard Confessional. Very little known song. I think it was a B-side, actually, of one of their songs, if I recall. And nobody knew it, obviously, apart from us. But we were like singing it along and what have you. So.
No, as I say, that just reminded me, there's a song, I Will, by the Beatles, that I do remember learning and thinking, this would be a great wedding song. So maybe it's that one. For me, yeah.
And I feel with the Beatles, you're going to have a better chance of more people knowing it as well.
Yeah.
That being said, if your guests are, primarily your friends and people you went to school and college and with, they're going to know whatever songs you pick, really. So they should, or else they're not friends and kick them out the wedding party.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, that was like a nice little jump back in time. And music, I'm always a fan of music questions because it's always interesting to hear. You mentioned you've got that eclectic appeal, which makes it fun when you listen to music, I feel. And, when you do have kids, if you have kids down the line, it's funny watching them sing the songs that you played, whilst they were little ones. So obviously they were taking it in without you knowing it, and then they sing the words back, you're thinking, really? Of course, like, it gets interesting if it's like X-rated and they've picked that up.
Exactly.
As well.
I see it with my nephew. He's 11, and, every now and then I'm like, ooh, okay.
Yeah. Well, it's like my wife and I have this running, not argument as such, but this running kind of disagreement. Like she'll play the full explicit versions of the song. And the kids are both teens now, so I guess I should be standing back a bit, But she'll play the full explicit versions of songs and I'll play the radio-friendly version. And you can tell when the kids have been in the car with mum, because when they come home, it's like, and then it's like just tripping off all these F-bombs, like, no. But,
right. Yeah.
I don't want to be that old fuddy-duddy.
Rein it back in. Yeah.
Rein it back in. Exactly. Alrighty. Well, that was a nice little musical interlude. Let's have a look at what question number 3 is. Oh, this is an interesting one. And I kind of feel I might know your answer based on you and your background, Jen. But question number 3. Would you rather not be able to use your hands or not be able to walk?
This is so hard. But I think not be able to walk. Because, right, if I think about, even capacity to get around, there's so much advancement in wheelchairs and even, automatic ones, or even if they're manual, at least you have your arms to do things, your arms to eat, or an arm or a hand to be able to like operate the wheelchair, as opposed to being, not having arms and being able to get around. But I will say, I have seen videos on the internet of people who don't have arms and the things that they learn to do with their feet or other parts of their body is amazing to me. And yeah, it's just incredible.
Yeah, I watched a video once, funnily enough. It was about someone who lost their arms to illness. And not their arms as such, but maybe just above the elbow bone. There was some illness that they had, and they had to have both their, forearms not chopped off. That's a horrible thing to say. Amputated, thank you. And they learned to use their other limbs, so their feet, their legs, etc., to write, to cook, to do the work that their hands would normally do, and they were doing it better than I could even imagine, like writing or painting or something. Like if I'm fully limbed with fingers, etc., and I could never in a million years create the artistry that these people came out with, or that person came out with from this video I was watching. It's crazy. Yeah.
It's amazing. The human body, the human spirit, just incredible.
Well, and I think it's like you say, it's an interesting one because you try to think, okay, well, what do I use my legs for? And I guess primarily it's getting around. So, it's walking, it's running, it's going upstairs, going downstairs, etc. And thankfully there are a technology, so stairs, lifts, cars, wheelchairs, etc., that can still get you around. Prosthetics, you look at some of the prosthetics now, they're amazing. You look at some of the athletes that can run on these prosthetic legs. It's got the sort of bendy blades, the blade runners. And it's crazy to think what can be done now. And then you say, okay, well, if I did, if I couldn't use my arms, does that sort of make it far, far less things I could do? Or like you say, can I now reprogram my brain and limbs to do the work that could do?
I work out with a woman actually who lost her leg below her knee from an accident with the subway. And she has that kind of prosthetic, it's like bent and she can bounce on it. But she, unbelievable, this woman.
Well, and that's it. It's like, I feel... And obviously we can't speak to it because we're I'm not going to say healthy, that's the wrong thing to say. We're both fully limbed, I guess, or we've got the capability to use all limbs. But it's like thinking about that, I think, well, I couldn't do that. But I guess your mind just tells you, well, you're going to do that, and then you do. And it's like you say, it's like, it's super inspiring to start with. But it also humbles you to think, well, maybe you shouldn't just be such a, perfectionist, if you like, because guess what? You don't have to be so-called, air quotes, perfect to live out a full life.
The interesting thing when it comes to this kind of stuff, I always like to make sure that we aren't comparing trauma, drama, pain, and rather letting someone, because some people will say, well, if they can do that, right? Who am I to complain about? And rather than looking at it that way, I like to think about it as inspiring, that if they can do this, so can I. There's nothing holding me back. A slight tweak, but it's one of those things where I see it all the time where people start to compare themselves to other people and almost use it to try to shame themselves into some sort of, quote unquote, motivation or something, rather than, letting it just truly inspire.
No, and that's a great point. I mean, you must see it yourself. Obviously, you're a coach, and like in your work that you do in the podcast, you must see it yourself, and like from a far less relatable topic, I guess. But I see it with podcasters. I work at a podcasting company and help podcasters, with their podcasts, etc. But you see it a lot. You see them look at other podcasters and, the numbers they share, the guests they have on, the places they've been included in the news, etc. And they think, well, why should I bother? I'm never going to get to that. But you shouldn't really, like you say, don't use a competition, use it as an inspiration. Well, how can you improve your audio? How can you improve your video? How can you improve your guest outreach? All that kind of stuff. It's not about, matching that person who may not actually be sharing the correct numbers about their success, but just how can you make little tweaks to your own enjoyment, etc.
Yeah, exactly.
This part's brought to you by someone awesome. We'll be back with more questions in a sec.
On the Bad Movies Worst Opinions podcast, we review popular movies from the 90s and 2000s just to see if they're as bad as you really remember. We believe that everybody has a favorite bad movie, those movies that you can't help but love even if the critics hate it. So we go back and watch them. Did these movies really deserve the hate, or have people been too harsh all along? Find out every Tuesday wherever you get your podcast from. Check out the Bad Movies Worst Opinions podcast.
Want 5 random questions without the ads and before anyone else hears it? Become a question starter on Patreon and get ad-free early access episodes, plus a sticker, because everyone loves stickers. Or level up to Question Master and unlock bonus content, producer credit in the show notes, and all the other perks too. Check it out at patreon.com/5RQ and join the Curious Crew. Well, let's have a look at question number 4. Question number 4. As a child, Jen, what did you want to be when you grew up?
I wanted to be a teacher. Well, okay, so kindergarten, first grade, I wanted to be a teacher. I think I didn't love my kindergarten teacher, but I loved my first grade teacher. And then I wanted to be a little older. So this must have been, I don't know, later in elementary school, maybe middle school. I wanted to be a psychologist. And I ended up going into business and then later into health and wellness. So now I say if I had it to do again, I probably should have gone to med school. But here we are. So at first it was a teacher and then a psychologist. You?
Well, I always wanted to be a journalist. And I studied really hard at school when it came to English, for example, because I thought that's going to be the one that gets me there. And then I discovered girls and my interest in careers took a nosedive, So here I am, a podcaster. But no, it's interesting you mentioned, you mentioned that I think you think it was in like junior kindergarten where you wanted to be a teacher because you didn't like your JK teacher. So it's almost like you were already thinking, how can I replace this person? Because I know I can do better than what this person's bringing to the class.
And the irony of it all, I guess, is like, if I think about what I do now with my clients, it is a bit teacher, it is a bit psychologist, it is a bit, health, medical, but not medical or, I'm not licensed in those things. So I can't say I do that, but it kind of encompasses all of those pieces, which, maybe we know.
Well, and that's it. Was there any particular from the psychology part? Referencing an earlier episode again, I had a gentleman on called Bob LeDrew, who was thinking about becoming a psychologist in university, and that came from a personal tragedy that happened to his family, and that's what sort of made him think, okay, I want to do this for X reason. Was there a reason in particular that you were thinking psychology? Was it the attraction of psychology from TV shows, or?
That's a good question. I don't think there was anything specific. I do remember saying at one point, I don't think you need meds for everything. I don't know where I got that idea. I don't know what that, came from on either side of that, either meds or not, But I've always been fascinated by human behavior, So what makes us do what we do? How do we tick? Why do we do certain things? So, maybe it was just some of that.
Well, it's like you say, though, on your journey with your own health and changing around, and where you are with the podcast and what you talk about now, psychology definitely does play a part in that, quite a heavy part. Well, why do I eat this versus this? Why do I drink this versus that? Why does this food have a certain effect on me? I guess that's more physical than psychology, but it comes into so much use from that aspect, I would imagine, too.
Oh, 1,000%. And the interesting thing is that, when I was struggling with my own saga of, trying to figure out my health and my weight and all that stuff, I thought it was psychological, right? It's like, what's wrong with me that I just can't not eat, the free breakfast, in the office at work or something. And what I really came to learn is exactly what you said, that it's much more biochemical, that it's not as much psychological, although even what we're experiencing in our minds is also very connected to the nutrients we eat or don't eat. But learning that shifted everything for me into something that was logical. And so it allowed me to stop feeling like I was a failure or something was wrong with me. And I see that shift with podcast listeners, with my clients all the time, because I think, now this is sort of a sidebar and a soapbox, but the wellness world has really gone off the rails and is selling shame and blame disguised as health. And the bottom line is that's not the case at all. And so it's really, everything I do is to help people, reclaim that.
Well, I was going to ask you about that, and I'm glad you brought that up there, because I could imagine. I know certainly. I know like a chap over in the UK, podcasting consultant, and he gets so enraged on LinkedIn. You have to follow him. He's really funny. He gets so enraged on LinkedIn at a lot of the shows and advice that's been given out about the podcasting space by people that are just out to make a fast buck and take advantage. And I'd imagine similar in the wellness industry, it must really piss you off when you see some people give the advice they give, because it goes maybe against what you're saying, but it's so bad and it's just like the quick easy buck and the quick easy fix that some people are hoping to find without knowing actually why they're doing what they're doing. Yeah,
it's frustrating. And there are even people in my space, right, where I watched one yesterday where this woman was just like ranting, was so infuriated. And she was speaking exactly what I say all the time and, appreciate somebody voicing it. But the other, I think the piece that's maybe even more complicated when it comes to health is that with the things that people are sharing, it's not that something's patently false. It's not that they're completely wrong. It's that it ignores the nuance and doesn't give the detail that actually allows somebody to make whatever that recommendation is work for them. And so that's what's frustrating. It's like even every fad has a foundation in some really interesting science and research and biology. It's that it snowballs into something far different than what it was intended for without conversation of the consequences or without conversation of details of implementation and how we do these things, like even just calories in, calories out. Theoretically, yes, that will make the number on the scale go down. But does that translate to health, right? And what are those calories made of? Because that's really what makes the difference. And so I think a lot of times, and I brought this up with personal trainers or people who tout the calories in, calories out. And I'm like, but if you ate 1,200 calories of carrots or 1,200 calories of Skittles, your body is not going to function the same. Now, I wouldn't recommend either, by the way, for whatever.
Sound a lot of Skittles.
Do not recommend. But and they go, well, and I'm like, no, not well, because what you've just said by saying calories in, calories out is what matters. You are creating a situation, and I see it over and over and over, where people are under eating and over exercising, completely deteriorating their health.
And then they're asking, why am I not getting thinner, stronger, right, fitter, etc.? Because like you say, they're not doing it. I mean, it took me, I went back 2017, 2018, I had a really, I was a bit of a more svelte person than I am today. I had a really good fitness kick and I got up personal trainers, etc. And they taught the importance of healthy fats, which I never knew about. You hear the name fat and you immediately think, oh, bad, don't eat fat. But healthy fats you actually want to put in your body.
Right. Yeah. Every cell in your body has a lipid layer, right? Or a fatty barrier around the outside of every cell. So if we don't have fat, we compromise the integrity of every single cell in the body. That's a problem, I mean, and then there are vitamins that require fat for your body to use and absorb. And so it's, it's all the research, by the way, on fat being the enemy was one study in the 70s that has never been able to be replicated. People don't even know your body creates its own cholesterol. And so if you eat cholesterol, your body will make less, but it always maintains a certain level of cholesterol where, like, by the way, the egg is probably not the problem with your cholesterol.
And what do you think? I know, like, our kids' school's getting really good. Our school board, sorry, not the school. The school's pretty good as well, actually. But the school board is getting really good at educating more on life stuff as opposed to the normal school topics, etc. And they're getting into, they have a really good dietary lunch, etc. And why certain foods are good, certain foods aren't so good, etc. Do you think more schools need to be doing that, more boards? Because you mentioned a great point about the name and shame, or feeling shame because you're doing X. But you generally find that as an adult when you're looking at yourself a little bit more conspicuously, I feel. Do you feel if we started earlier in life, it would give us a bit more understanding and less putting so much on us?
Yes, and. Yes, we need to start it earlier. And the idea, I get what you're saying as far as, like, we think about it more as we get older, but there are kids as young as 5 years old who are saying they can't eat something because it will do something, aesthetically with their body. Like, they see, even as young as, 2 or 3 years old, they see how you look at yourself. So yes, we want to start earlier, and we have to shift the dynamic with ourselves and each other of what they're seeing. And when it comes to what they're learning and improving that, it is such an uphill battle because, in the US, even the schools for dietitians and nutritionists are still based in some old research. And those schools are very much funded by Coke and Pepsi and Unilever and Kraft. And so even if we start earlier, it's also what we're teaching earlier and how we're teaching it and the language that we put to things. So yes, and.
It reminds me that there was a little meme a while ago where it put a comparison chart about why McDonald's costs $2 for a Happy Meal, and then fruit and veg costs $10 for the equivalent weight or something, and that's why we have issues, etc.
One of many reasons, yeah.
I hear you. My daughter's she's like in competitive cheer, so her team's very on the ball when it comes to nutrition, etc. and how that affects your body and how that affects your strength, etc. So I will be directing her to your podcast anyway.
Well, thank you. Yes.
You are very welcome. You're very welcome. And speaking of very welcome, we welcome question number 5. Okay. Easiest one to finish off of. Here we go, Jen. Question number 5. How long does it take for you to get ready in the morning?
It depends, right? Like, there's the 15-minute version, and then there's the hour version, But I can, if I'm not washing my hair, I can be ready in like 15, 20 minutes. Body shower, get it together. But if I'm washing my hair, if, I don't know what I'm wearing or figuring that out, then it's closer to an hour.
Right. And you have like a set routine. I know my daughter has a very specific routine. My son, less so, he's my son. He's a boy. He's all over he's a teen boy. He's all over the place. He does what he does. But yeah, it's like, say, my daughter asked me, or my kids ask, why don't I grow my hair out? And I said, well, A, it's grey, but B, I don't have to comb it. I don't have to worry about it. I just get up and it's ready to go. Obviously, you have lovely long hair. My daughter has long hair. I'm guessing that takes a little bit longer to get just so, maybe?
Well, that's just it, right? So if I wash it and I have to, my hair is curly and I wear it straight for everybody who can't see on video. And so if I'm going, from washing my hair, it takes longer. Like, drying my hair itself is about 20-ish minutes. So that's what really makes a big difference. But if I'm just body shower, getting ready, I can fix my hair in, a couple minutes.
And is there one, like you mentioned there, obviously you've got naturally curly hair, but you wear it straight. So this may even be the answer. Who knows? But is there one like cheat that you would love that you wouldn't have to worry about in the morning that would save you X amount of times, even on the times where you normally have to spend a long amount of time getting ready, like the hour plus, etc.?
Yeah. I mean, I guess if my hair would dry in, 30 seconds and look like I did it, that would be amazing, But there are, I'm a skincare girl too. And so there are some days, especially at night, when you're like, some days it feels so good and it's a great part of the day. And other days it's like, I just don't feel like doing this. So that would be another one if it was like an easy button for all the skincare.
Yeah, I hear where we live in Canada, we're in sort of east central to North Ontario.
Okay.
It's a tiny little village and really harsh winters and lovely summers, but really harsh winters. So you can imagine what that does to your skin when you're outside.
I grew up in Michigan, so I get it. Yeah.
There you go then. Yeah, the first year we moved here, the winter was like minus 36 centigrade, which was super cold. I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit. Very, very cold. And our eyebrows and all that were frosted on the walk to the school bus stop and coming back, etc. So I'm all with you on the skincare. I've got a bunch of lotions that I should use more. I tend not to though. But yeah, if I could have something that would just make my skin feel good the whole day through, as opposed to 5 o'clock at night, I'm looking red and blotchy. I'm thinking, what's going on there? Why is that happening?
Yeah, for sure.
And I guess, obviously, I could just maybe eat certain foods throughout the day that would actually keep me looking better as well.
Yeah, maybe. There are different areas of the face that connect to different organs in the body. So if we're having a consistent challenge somewhere, rosacea, acne, those kinds of things, like different parts of the face connect to different organs and, Chinese medicine. And then, it's also said your skin is your intestines turned inside out. So oftentimes what's manifesting in your skin is connected to what's happening in the gut.
Well, I did not hear that's a very graphic description to finish that.
You're welcome. Yeah.
Now I'm going to be thinking, I'm going to look at myself in the mirror every time now, walking by the mirror to like brush my teeth or grab a water or something. Okay, how's my intestine looking today? That's it.
Yep.
It's going to be that. Well, Jen, we have reached the end of your time in the random question hot seat, and thank you for sharing your answers there. As is only fair, because I've had you on the spot for the last 30, 35 minutes or so, it is now time to flip over the question to yourself.
Awesome. Well, my question to you is, who is your dream guest for this podcast?
Ooh. And it can be anyone. It doesn't have to be anybody. Anyone at all, yeah. Living or dead? I guess living.
Give me both.
Ooh, okay. Okay, living, I would probably have to go with someone like Ryan Reynolds, who I think...
Interesting.
Just because anytime I see him getting interviewed, he always seems genuine. Maybe he's not. Maybe it's a very slick facade. I don't think it is. He's Canadian. What can be unslick about it? But he always seems to be fun and ready to make fun of himself and not take himself too seriously. So I think he'd be awesome. I think if I was going for someone that's no longer here, I would probably go with... I'm going to go with Joan of Arc, actually.
Ooh.
Old historian. She's not a historian. A very famous person from history. And I guess I'd be really curious as to... Because you get to know her story in history, you read up on her, etc. Her death and everything that led to that. And I guess I'll just be curious as to, we know, I'm speaking as an older white male, very much of a privileged position. We know how difficult it is still today for women in the world. Going back then, when it was really bad as well, how difficult was it? And I guess it wouldn't be a random question episode then, because I'd have to focus on her time then. But I'd love to know, the strength that must have taken at that time as being a woman, a female warrior, that getting, I guess, men to follow you into battle when it's such a non-expected thing. And I'm trying to word this in a way that's not disrespectful. I'm hoping I'm doing that.
Yeah, 1,000%. I totally get it. I love that. And for everybody on, the Ryan Reynolds front, we can do this. If all of us listening right now go send a message to Ryan Reynolds on a social media app. Pick one, send him a message and say, you have to go on the 5 Random Questions podcast. We can make this happen.
That would be awesome. And I will have you on as a guest co-host if we manage to do that, Jen. I feel that'd be like a special bonus episode all around. Excellent. Well, I thank you for that question, and touch wood, all the wood, that happens. And he's very active on social, so you never know. And if I have to buy a bottle of aviation gin, I will do that, Ryan. I will put another $20 in your pocket because I know you need it, mate. So, Jen, I really enjoyed talking to you and getting to know your answers for the 5 random questions today. For anybody that wants to check out your awesome podcast and advice, maybe even hire you as your coach and all the awesome advice you give, for wellness and business, where's the best places to check out the podcast, yourself, and connect online, etc.?
Oh, thank you so much. This has been a delight. My podcast, Salad with a Side of Fries. So wherever you're listening, start to type salad with, and it'll probably pop up. All social media, I am at Jenn Trepeck, JENNTREPECK. Send me a message. I promise I will get back to you. I love hearing from you, so please send a message. And then my website is asaladwithasideoffries.com. So you can send me messages there. You can book 15 minutes with me on my website. I love connecting with you. And shameless plug, my first book is coming out this fall, called Uncomplicating Wellness. So stay in touch, check it out. We'll give you a link to all the goodies and everything, and all the info will be on my website too.
That is awesome. And congrats on the book. That is awesome.
Thank you.
And that comes out later this fall, is it? Or?
Yes. As of right now, the publisher said late October. So
nice.
Very exciting.
It's my birthday in October, so I shall pick up a copy of that.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. I shall pick up a copy. Right, congrats. And as always, I will leave all these links in the show notes. So if you're listening to this in your favourite podcast app or online at 5randomquestions.com, just check the episode show notes and everything will link through to Jen and all the awesome stuff you can find there. So again, Jen, thank you again for appearing on 5 Random Questions.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to 5 Random Questions. If you enjoyed this week's episode, I'd love for you to leave a review on the app you're currently listening on or over at 5randomquestions.com/review. And if you know someone else like Ryan Reynolds that would enjoy the show, be sure to send them this way. It's very much appreciated. Until the next time, keep asking those questions.